Alright, so I want to do a screencast on a package of modules that I wrote that work with the NPR's API. I am the lead developer at Chicago Public Radio, and we recently switched our site to Drupal, and there was a need to import content from NPR's API to a node and do it in a way that any user could do it. So over the past few months, I've been developing, which started out as one module, it's now 4 modules, and I just kind of wanted to show how to use it, and also use this video as a way to get my module contributed. So first thing you need to do is make sure you got proper modules installed. You'll need the NPR package, which eventually hopefully will have project.drupal.org. And you'll also need a few core contributed modules. So if you go to site building modules, first you need to make sure you have CCK. You gotta enable, content is a dependency. The rest of these modules are not dependencies, but as you'll see, you're probably gonna want file field turned on, you're probably gonna want image field turned on, you're probably gonna want text turned on. And then you'll also want to download date. You don't need it, but to make it work well, you're probably going to want date turned on. And then the last set of modules that you'll need is the NPR package. The NPR API module really doesn't do much by itself. It's just a bunch of helper functions that these 3 modules use. The NPR API Mapper module is a module that allows you to map the content from the story content from NPR's API to a node. I will show you how to use that. NPR Automator is a module that allows you to automate importing content from NPR's API. And then lastly is the NPR Content Generator. This module allows you to import individual stories based on some search criteria from NPR's API. So let's get started. First thing you need to do is go to npr.api.org and sign up for the NPR's API system. You just got to click register, go through the registration process, and then you will get an API key. And then once you get your API key, you need to go to Site Configuration, NPR API Settings, and then just paste in your API key here and save the configuration, and that's that. Next step is you need to go to Site Building, or Site Configuration, NPR API Mapper. Basically what the NPR API Mapper is, it allows you to map NPR fields to Drupal fields. This is a list of all the fields that are possible to import from the API. You don't have to import every single one, it's really up to you, but title is required, so you can't really change that. Basically what you need to do is you need to go and create a content type that you can actually map these fields to. The way that I built this is it's intelligent. A subtitle can only map to either a text area or a text field. So when you select this list, it's going to pull all the fields from whichever content type that you selected, and you can select which field that you want to map it to. Then there's a node body. You can map it just to the default node body or any text area that you create with CCK. Then there's the teaser, can map to a text field or a text area. You just need to create a text field with CCK and just come here and select that field here. Story byline can be a text area or text field. If you read the little descriptions underneath, it'll tell you what type of field you'll need in order to map it correctly. The publish date can be a date field, or it can be just a text field. Image and audio can be file or image or any type of file, CCK file type with any widget that you choose. Um, One thing to note on story and story audio, story images and story audio, I recommend setting the number of items to accept to unlimited, because the API can pass, maybe 10 images for one story. And if you want to be able to store all of them, you'll need to set it to allow unlimited amount of uploading of images or audio. The very last one that's kind of the oddball is the NPR story ID. This just needs to be a text field on your content type. Really won't mean much to you, but it's the field that stops duplicate content from being uploaded. If you go to npr.org, you'll notice that pretty much their entire site is built around these story IDs, which I'll show you how you can make use of that in a little bit, but I just want to kind of show you. The story ID, if you look in the URL, you'll see this big, long number in here, and that is the story ID. So just make mental note of that for the moment right now. We'll come back to that later. So once you have this all configured, there's one thing I forgot to mention is the taxonomy terms. This, you can select a taxonomy field that is, in order to select the taxonomy field, one first has to be related to the story content type, and then also has to be a tag type of vocabulary in order to add the terms that get pulled from NPR's API. And then last thing is you can additionally add terms to every single piece of content that gets pulled from NPR's API. This is convenient. Like, as you can see, I'm tagging all the content with NPR. So later on, if I want to use views to pull all NPR content, it makes it really easy. So that's how you set up the NPR API mapper. The next thing I'm going to show you is the NPR content generator. To use the NPR content generator, all you have to do is go to Content Management, NPR Content Generator, and it loads this nice little search form here. If you go back to the api.npr.org and you see this query generator here, this query generator here, I mimic that pretty much in this form here. As this will get updated, I will also release updates for this one here, but in the 4, 5, 6, 7 months that I've been using this, it hasn't really changed. So it's not something that you need to worry about. But basically what this form allows you to do is do different types of queries. So you can select different types of topics. You can select different types of music, which then will pull different stories from NPR about different types of music, bios, columns, different blogs. NPR's got a whole bunch of different blog categories. You can do search terms, so you can type in any type of search term if you're looking for something particular. Search options you'll probably use the most. Make sure you can make a mental note of this, is that you can filter the stories and make sure that when you generate a query that it has text or it has images or it has audio. I'm going to go ahead and select these so when I show you how it works, we kind of get the whole shebang of how it works. You can change the number of results. You can do dates filtering. You can sort by different things. And then remember when I told you about the story ID, you can go to npr.org and you can copy this one particular story ID right here, and you can just paste it in right here and click Generate Query, and it'll prompt you, and you can choose just that one story to pull in. But I'm going to run just a custom query right now. So let's just do a topic, and let's do world, and we will click Generate Query. Takes a minute, and boom, here's a list of 10 stories that you can choose to import. Shows you the teaser when it was published, if it has an image, true, because we selected that. Same for audio, and also if it has text. You can also click on the link if you want to see the original story and see if that's a story that you want to import. A couple things to make note of is that the API is not perfect. So I mean, when it imports a story, it may not like replicate the story on npr.org exactly, but for the most part, it's pretty good. So then what you can do is you can click, 1, 2, 3 stories, and then come down here and click Save Stories. And if the NPR API mapper is set up properly, boom, it'll tell you that 3 stories were created. You can actually click these links and it will go to the node. And I don't really have any custom theming here, but you'll see that the byline got pulled in, the publish date, here's the teaser, here's the body, couple images, here's the audio. I can click on it.
Pakistan is telling the U.S. that it must shrink.
And that's pretty much it. It's pretty cool. Allows you API, or NPR is pretty cool for providing an API like that. One thing that I strongly recommend is that you go and you read the terms of service on api.npr.org, just because depending on who you are and how you're using this, you can possibly get in trouble. So just make sure you read the terms of service and you understand. And the very last thing I'm going to show you is the NPR Automator. Basically allows you to automate content, importing of content running on cron. And if you go to NPR Automator, you just click that. Shows you this little kind of control panel dashboard type thing here. It's pretty simple. You just click Add. And you can just put a title on this to just remind yourself what it is. And we'll say this is Stories on Classical Music. Then you can select what user that you'd like to save the content as. You can leave this blank. If you leave it blank, it's just going to save everything as anonymous. It's really up to you, but it is an autocomplete field, so if I start typing my username, which is Patrick, that pops up there, and then all the content will be the author will be Patrick. And then there's taxonomy. Basically what this form will do, based on your NPR API mapper settings, pretty much everything is based on that. It pulls in the taxonomy that's associated with that content type. So if you want to, for all generated content, you want to say for this one, because it's all stories about music, I want to put it in the music category, so I'm going to select that. And then maybe I'll tag all of it with classical, just so I know that it's all classical music. And remember that back in the NPR API settings, we added the NPR tag to everything, so you don't need to put that again here. There's a checkbox to run on cron. Currently I haven't put a manual update feature on this, but that will eventually be added, and that's why that checkbox is there. Many different frequencies you can run it on, so if you don't want it updating every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes, it's really up to you. We'll just leave it at 5. Then, this looks familiar. It's the same form that was on the NPR content generator. So basically, since I want classical music, I'll just go click classical. And then that'll pull everything from classical. And then, again, remember search options. We want to make sure we import stories that are relevant and are actually got a good amount of content. So we're going to make sure it has text, and we'll also make sure it has audio, because probably a lot of stuff maybe has audio that has to do with classical music. You can set it to import 5, 10, 15, or 20 at a time. I really didn't make this like a text field because I didn't want you. If you go over 20, you could possibly be doing a lot of pulling from the API, and it could possibly time out. And so, kind of trying to keep that low. And then just your other sorting options, and then you can just click save. And that's a bug. We'll have to fix that, but should bring you back here. Which brings you just kind of back to the dashboard, and you'll see that the stories on classical music was created. And with another cool feature is you can enable or disable them. So so you don't have to actually delete it. You can just enable or disable it. If you want to edit one, you can just click the edit link here. If you want to delete one, you can click the delete link. And that is pretty much it. Really hope that helps, and hope you can make use out of this module.